What's up, man? It's your big brother K-Rino. And as y'all get ready to step into the door, we're gonna touch on this for a little while. I'm not gonna be long at all. It's very rare when I go live through the middle of the week, but I thought this needed to be addressed simply because I always try to find a deeper principle in situations like this. Um, Nothing that I'm gonna say is related to the sport itself, even though I know it's dealing with sports. It's more so dealing with principles, what I'm getting ready to speak on. So as y'all come in, do your big brother a favor and hit that like button as soon as you walk in the door. As soon as you step into the door, y'all hit that like button, man. Those of y'all who are in here already, click like for your big brother right now. Just hit it for your big brother right now. Because we're going to talk about this situation and not just as it relates to Antonio Brown, but as it relates to black people. Because the truth of the matter is that what I'm seeing, and some of y'all may disagree because what you're going to do is probably try to detail aspects of Antonio Brown's history, which I would do the same. But what I'm seeing is a move that's come out of a playbook that we're all too familiar with. We've seen this scenario play itself out a bunch of times over the course of years and with different people, not just athletes, with musicians, with politicians, with leaders, and with regular working class people. And I'm gonna go through all those levels because this title says the modern day slave trade remix. And so the question is, what do I mean by that? What do I mean by the modern day slave trade remix? Simply meaning that as we familiar with the history of the slave trade historically, it's not done like that anymore. We all see the comparisons with the NFL Combine to how they used to check out the slaves when they would bring them in. They would grope them and check their strength and see how fast they run and how much they can lift in order to know where to place them in terms of the workload. And that drew comparisons to the NFL Combine, or the NFL Combine drew comparisons to how they handled slaves back in the day. But now you see what we have, and I have a song about it. So we see what we have: $1 million slaves. And what has happened with the fact that now you have these multi-million-dollar athletes and entertainers making so much money that people reject the notion that they can actually still be slaves because they make all this money, man. What you talking about? You talking ain't nobody, they ain't no slave. Them people got all that money, man. I love to be a slave like that. Well, you sound just like old Conan Negro when you talk like that. Because money does not free you from a condition. Money does not necessarily bring you wisdom. In some cases, having money exposes the lack of knowledge, exposes the lack of wisdom and understanding in some of our people because it's been thrusted upon them so fast and so abruptly that they have not had time to understand the proper management of those finances. And in the conditions that a lot of us come out of to be instantly put in a situation now where we have millions of dollars, a lot of times these billionaires, they understand that some of our brothers and sisters, unfortunately, are going to just get that money and give it right back in some form or fashion because the knowledge isn't there. So as y'all hit that like button for your big brother, This is what we're seeing with Antonio Brown. I'm speaking my opinion and my opinion only. Y'all ain't got to agree with me. Y'all can listen. Y'all can voice your disagreements or your agreements or whatever the case may be. But I watched the scenario play itself out yesterday when brother took his uniform off and threw his jersey in the crowd, and AB has had a history of certain the situation. So the first thing you say is, man, what's up with Antonio Brown? What's going on now, man? What's the deal? You know, but we're taught to, before we start running our mouth, to assess the totality of the situation. In some situations, even when you assess it in its totality, you're still supposed to shut up. This might be a situation where I should shut up. But I'm going to go in on this one because after just checking a few things out, it made me click to the understanding that, you know what? While brother may not have been just a model, perfect model citizen in terms of how he's carried himself on other teams and in other situations, and may have not made the best decisions, we also got to know that historically, a lot of these team owners, a lot of these general managers, a lot of these coaches, they have pulled some snakish moves directed towards a lot of these players, and they have the ability and the power to get in front of the cameras and the media and twist the story and make the story lean to their favor and lean against the individual, all the way to the point where they will make us believe that this person is crazy. And that's where I'm going with it. So even if a person has a few things in their past, those things will be used to say, well, see, remember in 2015 he did this, in 2018 he did that, and we was playing for this team, he did this and that. So this is just another thing in a long line and a long pattern of Antonio Brown because this is what he does. But it's two sides to every story, sometimes three. And we know the playbook. So a lot of things that I read and I saw, it kind of made me question. Because number one, the coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he never wanted Antonio Brown on that team in the first place. His name is Bruce Arians. That's a really interesting last name. Bruce Arians didn't want Antonio Brown on the team in the first place. It was actually Tom Brady who went to bat for Antonio Brown and was like, hey, man, you know, let's get this guy in. And even that was just for the sake of winning. Because Brady wants to win at all costs, and he understands if he has a weapon like Antonio Brown, that gives them just as much of a better chance to win. And that's exactly what happened. They brought him in along with other guys that they had, and boom, they win the Super Bowl. Antonio Brown had no issues that I can recall all last season, all the way to winning the Super Bowl, all the way to this year, up into a point where he was accused of presenting a fake vaccination card. And even that is not something that I personally would look at as something so horrible and terrible and egregious, although some may look at it, because a lot of people believe in the punching the arm. So I don't look at that as being egregious. And it's not much different to me than what Aaron Rodgers did. Not much different. One person presented a fake card, the other person just flat out lied. So both are deceptions, both are deceptive. But the coach never wanted Antonio Brown on his team in the first place. And so the report that I saw stated that Antonio Brown didn't just decide he was just going to flip out and lose his mind and go crazy and just take his clothes off and throw them in the stands. No, that's not actually what happened, according to this report. Allegedly, AB was asked to go back into the game and said, "No, I'm hurt. Can't go back in the game." Which, hey, nobody has the right to judge somebody else's pain threshold. Well, nobody has the ability to judge somebody else's pain threshold or whether they're actually hurt or not. You can question it, you can doubt it, you can disagree with it, you can say, but in reality, if you are not that person and you're not experiencing whatever they claim they're experiencing, then you have no ability to judge that person's pain threshold. So he was asked to go back in, said he was hurt. The coaching staff didn't buy it. And in that instant, according to the report, this man was told, well, if you don't go back into the game, then you're not going to be a member of the team. So at this point, his integrity was called into question because it's like, okay, well, now we're calling you a liar. Now we don't believe what you're saying. And instead of saying, okay, well, we'll take you at your word, but we're going to check you out after the game and see what's going on. It was basically told to him in so many words that if you don't go in, then you out of there. You done. At which point, y'all can have it. See y'all when I see y'all. Now, somebody said in another report that Antonio Brown, was due to make close to $1 million in incentives and financial incentives based on, and what incentives are contractual bonuses that things are put into your contract, on stipulations based on if you catch this amount of passes, we'll bump your money up this much. If you catch this amount of touchdowns, you get 300,000 more, and so on and so on and so on. And he had about $1 million worth of incentives that he was very close to cashing in on. Now, the only discrepancy with me, because people are saying, oh, they didn't want him to get that money. They didn't want him to get that money. Well, the only thing I would maybe question in my own mind to that was that if he wanted to get the incentives, he would have went into the game. It seemed like that would make sense for him to actually try to play. And if the coaching staff didn't want him to get the incentives, it would make sense for them to say, well, no, don't go in the game because we don't want you to get the incentives. But there was another speculation that was saying that AB never refused to go in the game and wanted to go back in the game. And they said for him not to go back in the game because they didn't want him to get that extra money. So it's all over the place. It's all over the place and it's in the air. Nonetheless, he was cut from the team basically immediately. And now the narrative has re-sparked that Antonio Brown is crazy, and oh boy, we knew it was just a matter of time, and all these different things that have been said about this man. Now, this is not something that's new. This is not something that's new. If the truth of the matter is that they asked him to come into the game and he refused to come into the game, and then he was questioned whether he was injured or not, that's not a new scenario. Because again, you see in this title, it says slave trade remix, modern day slave trade. In the times of slavery, and I don't want anybody to think that I'm comparing playing a game to the horrible experience that our ancestors went through in slavery. That's not what I'm doing. So get off of that. I'm speaking in terms of in principle and in just the concepts of how the mind of a slave master operates all the way down into the modern day. During that time, it didn't matter if you were sick. It didn't matter if you was tired. It didn't matter if you had just got beaten, whipped an hour before you was due to be out in the field. Didn't matter what was going on. When it was time for you to get out in that field and work or pick that cotton, or do whatever it is that they were requiring a slave to do, you did it. Even if you had to die in the field. Because all that they are concerned about is your productivity. They are only concerned about the productivity that you generate that will generate revenue in the sustaining of the slave master. So the comparison from that time is basically that NFL machine broken down into a microcosm of that team being the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like, whatever you can do for me, whatever, that's all we care about. You lucky to be on this team. That's how they looking. That's how they view Antonio Brown. Bruce Arians, that's how he views Antonio Brown, because again, he didn't want him on the team in the first place. You lucky to be on this team. So even if you are hurt, if I say get in the game, you get in the game. But a person who's really hurt, or even a person who just has general integrity, it's like, if he's really hurt, he may have been aware of any incentives, and he may have said, man, I don't care, it don't matter. I'm not going to let money be the reason why I go out there and possibly re-injure myself or amplify the injury that I'm already dealing with. He has that right to do that. And if I don't know, what would trigger him to just decide that he didn't want to play when he had no issues so far this season. But now the narrative generates that, okay, he's crazy. And they've done that before. Now, I'm not comparing Antonio Brown to a political activist or a leader, a civil rights leader. I'm not comparing him on those levels. But what I'm saying to you is that one of the main tactics of these devils, right? One of the main tactics is, if you oppose them, or you lash out against them, or you buck the system, one of the first things that they'll start to say about you, they'll say you're crazy. They'll say something wrong with you. The United States does it with their enemies all the time. If you notice how every enemy of the United States of America, for as long as we can remember, has always been given the label through American media as being a madman, as being crazy, as being deranged, or he's not wired up all the way, he's dangerous. Doesn't matter. It could be Fidel Castro, it could be Saddam Hussein, Muammar Gaddafi. What's North Korea's guy name? What was the guy in North Korea? Kim Jong-un? Doesn't matter. So you're telling me that every other leader of sovereign nations that are operating with, they have governments, they have school systems, they have hospitals, they have organization. Every leader is a madman except the leaders of the United States of America. They're perfectly normal. They're fine. Nothing wrong with them. But all of your enemies are crazy, or they've been packaged that way and presented to the public as crazy. All of the enemies are crazy. All of them. Every last one of them. It's a playbook. It's a play out of a book. So anything that is done after that is justified simply because that man over there crazy. And they bring that all the way down to individual black men and black women who buck the system. And when you do so, you are labeled as crazy. You got to watch him, man. He's a loose cannon. How are they going to handle him? See, and then when something happens, see, just a matter of time, Then they put all of the coons on TV, all of the sellout black sports analysts on TV to co-sign it, and we'll see that, to co-sign it and ride for the establishment and talk about how ungrateful and disrespectful this brother is when you don't know all of the details. You don't know everything that happened behind the scenes. Because at the end of the day, the same way they want you in them fields picking that cotton, no questions asked, is the same way they treat you on your job. You ever been sick and wanted to call in, or had to call in, or actually called in, and when you called in, the supervisor or the manager was kind of funny acting with you? Now you got sick days. You technically, hey man, you got the right to take your sick days whether you're sick or not. But on this day, you was really sick. And you called in and say, hey, Tim, I'm not gonna be able to make it today, man. I'm just not feeling good. I mean, what's wrong with you? I mean, what do you mean you're not feeling? So there's no way you look fine yesterday. They start questioning you. Then in our fear of losing that job, we start, well, no, man, I was feeling it yesterday. I almost tried to take off early yesterday. I mean, my head is hurting. You start explaining yourself when you shouldn't. When it should be, hey, man, I'm calling you to let you know because technically that's what I'm supposed to do, but I don't have to explain myself to you if I call in sick and now you questioning me like you think I'm lying about being sick and I'm calling in because they feel like you should be so grateful that you got a job. See, that's subliminal crap. Well, okay, if you say you're sick, is there any way you can bring like a doctor's note, or they start hitting you with all that type of stuff, man. See, this is the mindset, because they want to milk you. They want to milk you and get every ounce of production out of you till they don't need you no more. And the flip side of that is when they get ready to get rid of you, it don't matter what's going on. You just out of there. It don't matter that you got a family. It don't matter that you got bills. It don't matter that you really need your job. Hey man, we're going in a different direction, and just things are different. We're cutting back and scaling back, and that's it. You out of there. So it's a hypocrisy when they want what you got, they want it. No excuses. There have been so many athletes who have had contracts set in stone, and then maybe the last year of that deal, the last 2 years of that deal, they start trying to get them to take a cut off of that contract. Can we scale that back? Can we cut that deal? I know you were set to make $20 million this year, but we're trying to do some different things in the organization. And some of these cats do it. Oh, okay, well, we want to sign some other guys to help us win. And some of these cats do it when they should go, nah, I'm not giving up none of my money. This is what I signed for. I'm not giving up none of my money. Because as soon as an athlete decides that they want to do something different, or they may want to renegotiate while they're still under their current deal, the first thing they're going to say is, well, look, this is the contract you signed. So you got to hit them back with the same thing. Well, this is the deal that you signed me to. I want all my money. But in the NFL, the contracts ain't guaranteed. So unlike other sports where they, I get my money, the NFL is not even guaranteed. And it's the most brutal, dangerous sport out of all of them. So you get bang, hit in the head, concussion protocol, people retiring and suffering from CTE, that condition that's leading a lot of guys to just have severe head trauma and mental problems and suicidal thoughts. A couple of them even actually committed suicide. Some people suffering with CTE don't even know it. Some people, it haven't kicked in on them yet. This is the NFL. They don't care nothing about these players. Care nothing about you. So everything you do is to build up that brand and to make that team win. And you can be cut and not even get your money that was in your contract because the money ain't guaranteed. So Antonio Brown is gone. And he may never play in the NFL again simply because that narrative is out there, that perception is out there of him that he crazy. And we do the same thing. We buy into it. Black folks as a whole, yeah, man, that fool crazy, man. He just, And we got to catch ourselves. Because again, it's more sides to a story than just one, and especially the side that the media is going to present. So Bruce Arians get on TV and he's like, oh, we wish him the best. And, we really, man, go on with all that. You never wanted him. Never wanted him. And you're glad that he's no longer on that team. You got a Super Bowl out of the deal that he helped you win because he caught a touchdown pass in that Super Bowl, had a good game in the Super Bowl. So you got what you wanted out of him. See? It's out of a playbook. And again, I'm not comparing Antonio Brown to a civil rights leader. I'm just saying how anybody who is passionate, anybody who is rebellious, like a leader, like a civil rights leader or an activist or something, anybody who is against a policy, they're going to label you as crazy. They're going to label you as crazy on your job. One of y'all in this chat right now is the rebellious one on the job. One of y'all is the dude or the female that don't let them do you any kind of way. You ain't going to talk to me no kind of way. I'm going to do my job, but you going to respect me. One of y'all is like that in this chat. And you are the one that they fear. You are the one that they kind of look at and like, we're not, don't say anything to Regina, she may take it the wrong way, Let's try this guy, he's a little more passive. One of y'all is the no-nonsense person on that job. And when it all hits the fan, you'll be the one. I ain't wishing nobody lose their job, but a lot of people have been in situations where they left their job getting escorted off by security. Not because they was going to do something crazy. It's because they stood up for themselves and they got scared. So you in there clearing your desk. Y'all don't talk to me no any kind of way. Y'all got me messed up in there. And they heart beating fast. But we don't go postal. See, with black folks, it's never postal. It's personal. We're not going to come back and shoot up the whole job site because we got into it with the supervisor talk. We're going to talk right back to him. Cuss him out, get our stuff, and leave. And be working somewhere else. We don't come back with an AR-15 and unload on everybody, including your coworkers that you've been working with for years and who ain't even done nothing. That ain't how we get down. We stand up for ourselves. But they'll call you crazy. Shout out to Tina Peter OG for the love and the donation. I appreciate that a lot, sis. You already know what it is. Tina Peter OG. We're going to start giving you the salute. See? Colin Kaepernick is a great example. I've seen somebody put Kaepernick's name in the chat. We knew when Kaepernick first popped out, we knew that he would never play in the NFL again. We knew it. It was a wrap. Because he's viewed as a troublemaker. See? The Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey was viewed as a troublemaker way, way back in the early 1900s, and they deported him out of the United States. Got him up out of there. He bringing these Negroes together. That's trouble for us. He got to go. Master Farad Muhammad, that's trouble. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, trouble. Malcolm X, trouble. Farrakhan, trouble. And the list goes on and on. So the lady, what's the Wicked Witch of the West looking lady name? God dog it. She looked like a blonde. Okay, the lady who said, shut up and dribble to LeBron James. She said, shut up and dribble. Good looking out, Nate. Jesus himself, trouble. She said to LeBron James, shut up and dribble when he spoke on political issues, social justice issues that she felt he shouldn't be talking about because he's a nigga. It ain't got nothing to do with being uninformed. It ain't got nothing to do with it. They'll use that. But the truth is, you are a $1 million nigga. This is them talking, not me. Who should be glad you making all this money, way more money than they're making. And you should shut up. Laura Ingram, that's her. Good looking out, Jedediah. And you should just shut up and bounce the ball. That's it. You just shut up and that's what you do. That's all we want you to do, buddy. But when Drew Brees came back later and he started talking his nonsense about how he felt like, oh, I don't feel as though they should be disrespecting the flag or the troops or whatever it is he said. She said, Drew Brees, well, he's got a right to his opinion. Same lady. Hypocrites. So if Brother Antonio Brown is not perfect, who is? Everybody done flipped out before. We done all flipped out somewhere before. Like at work, at school, at church, in the hood, playing ball. Everybody done flipped out. But you want to magnify that because you already have placed a target on this man based on some bumps in the road that he's had in the past. But when Ben Roethlisberger and some of these other cats that have some questionable things on their resume, we kind of sweep that under the rug. Black folks are crazy. Black teenager do something, he's crazy. He's a thug. White teenager do something, he's misunderstood. He's a misguided, had a rough situation growing up. The narrative is different. But believe it or not, there are some people who will not let you do them any kind of way because you giving them some money. And you got to always ask yourself, what category do you fit in? Are you the kind of person that's going to go, hey man, well, they paying me $10 million, well, I just shut up. He can talk to me anyway. The coach could slap me. Coach could slap me for $10 million. I don't care. Well, yeah, boy, you crazy. He can slap me too. No, the coach can't slap me. Coach can't slap me. But some of y'all think like that. Some of y'all are wired up like that. There are other people that's like, man, you can take all this money back. Because just like in entertainment, if you ever saw the exchange between Steve Harvey and Monique a couple of years back when Monique was going through her issues with the industry and she went on Steve Harvey's talk show and she talked about how all of these powerhouses were conspiring against her to take her, to knock her off her square in the business. And Steve Harvey started talking about basically, well, you just need to get this money. It's the money game. That's what he said. It's the money game. And Sister Monique say, no, well, I play the integrity game. Because the same people who give you this money, when you smiling and yeah, they'll tear you down after they give it to you and take it from you. They don't respect you. They only appreciate what you are able to do for them in a moment, in a pocket, in a window of time. I can get a Super Bowl or two out this Negro, and all I got to do is give him X amount of millions. I can get a championship or two. I can get some hit records. I can sell a lot of records. My label can sell a lot of records. I just need to just sign this Negro and throw him some bones, a few crumbs. But if he slips, if he falls off just a little bit, the sales ain't popping like they used to, they gonna drop you from that label. Period. No remorse, no looking back. It's a wrap. And you will not be able to say, well, man, what about all the millions of records I sold for you? What about, I done won 5 Grammys and, man, none of that matters because everything is based on the now and the moving forward. It's like paying rent. When you pay rent, you live in an apartment and you paying rent. You've been living in your apartment for 15 years. You've been living in that same apartment for 15 years. You paid your rent religiously every month, on time, every single month. The first time you don't have your rent, what they gonna do? 15 years straight, you have paid your rent on time. You've been in that same apartment. The first time you don't pay, you fall on hard times, you can't pay, you're going to be evicted. You have built up no credibility, no equity over all those years of paying that, just giving away that money. There's no type of incentive that says, okay, well, let me look at his record. He's paid this rent for 15 straight years. We should give him a 2-month grace period just to get back on his feet, just based on the fact that he's been a faithful tenant for 15 years. Ain't how it works. So it don't matter if you sold all these records. No matter if you've caught all these touchdown passes, you rushed for all these yards, you scored all these points, when you no longer able to do it, they will get rid of you. So if you're Antonio Brown, look, man, hey, okay, you got the right to do it how you gonna do it. But you don't get both. You don't get to cut me behind an alleged disagreement. You don't get to cut me and misrepresent me and vilify me. You going and make me take it is what I should say. You're not gonna make me go away quietly. So yeah, you can cut me, you can get rid of me, but I'm going out with a bang. AB say he going out with a bang. See? Time to see what y'all talking about up in here. Do they give 1,000-page contract to read in 1 minute? Hey man, I've been trying to hear that street military. I gotta check that out. Let me go back and see what y'all talking about. Axiom Blur said that I gotta say the praise of money in rap hip hop has always been disgusting. Real hip hop has nothing to do with money. Well, hip hop in its essence wasn't about money, because I don't even think that the founding fathers of hip hop saw. I could be wrong. Y'all would have to ask Kool Herc and all those brothers who pioneered, but I don't think that they saw this turning into what it is right now. Because if they did, they probably would have licensed the name hip hop. They probably would have been on the ground floor doing a lot of things that would have protected them moving forward. But the point I'm making is that once it becomes this multi-billion-dollar industry that it's become, then yeah, if you participate in it, the artist deserves some of that. But I understand where you're coming from. But yeah, look, man, once these labels got involved and they started making this money off of it, we gave them control over it. Mike Cherry says, brother and sister in Christ don't see color. I disagree with that. But I will say this. If you are not a brother or sister in Christ, you definitely do see color. But you see color regardless if you're a brother or a sister in Christ. It's like, it's impossible to not see color. Just not how life works. You would be running red lights and crashing into cars and at intersections if you didn't see color. But I know what you're trying to say. The fact of the matter is, many of those in power, they absolutely do see color, simply because of the historical, documented double standards, racial double standards that exist in the society. So it's somebody seeing color, because the treatment of one, we can take this all the way to the judicial system. The punishment of one for a crime is totally different for the punishment of another. So somebody's seeing some color. But yeah, you're right. Them ain't no brothers and sisters in no Christ. Those are brothers and sisters in Satan. Mario Moore says Antonio Brown just don't buck dance like the rest of them. And he don't. And we don't always have to agree with everything brother do or did, or, but some of the things are not as extreme as they try to make them out to be. They try to make it out like, he murdered somebody. Now, there are other allegations and all that. I don't know every little detail. Again, two sides of every story, sometimes three. But those back stories and those past situations are definitely things that they will always use against a person to bolster the narrative when it's time to 86 you. And people will say, well, he did this or he did that. You can name the most egregious accusation that's been levied against an individual. history has shown when these cats think you can still play, they'll brush that to the side in a heartbeat. Now, Coach Bumpers just said something that my homeboy said at the gym today. And I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to mention that and I forgot. And I'm glad you said that. Coach Bumper said AB has been a bit different since the hit he took from Burfict several years ago. And that's exactly what a friend of mine said today, is that he got hit and got concussed a few years ago. And that since that time, that's when he really hasn't been the same. And that's what goes back to my initial point in the beginning of this live when I talked about CTE, when I talked about the concussion protocol that a lot of guys have to go under when they take these hard hits, and the for years and years the unchecked aspects of those hits to the head that a lot of athletes are suffering from later on down the line. So you're not the first person to mention about that. And if it's something that has altered that brother a little bit, then that's something that may need to be looked into in terms of his long-term mental health, his long-term physical health and stability as well. But as long as you can play, I don't care nothing about all that. See? Heavy Production says, I worked at the post office and I just wanted my benefits and equal pay, but I turned into an ungrateful black man to them. Yeah, because they looked at you like you should be happy to just have a job, even if we don't give you no benefits. Be glad you got the job. You bet. Look, man, y'all look at me like, oh man, he just going talking about this. Like, man, this is the truth. They really think like that. And if you don't think like that, okay, cool. You don't think like that. But you should talk to more of your brothers and sisters who do. See? And those in power, that's why they call the people who are the CEOs and the purchasers of those franchises, they're referred to as the owners. There was a debate about that years ago, like they should stop referring to them as owners because it gives off a slave master slave type of vibe and relationship. And I listen to this sports talk show every day, and I listen to those guys try to defend stuff like that every day because ain't no black dudes on the show. Oh, they're just nitpicking now. Owner, so what? It's just a term. It's just, nah, ain't no term for black folks. We're not really too keen on that word or referring to white folks as being our owners. Ain't too keen on that. You own the franchise. You own the brand. You own the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You own the Houston Rockets. You own those franchises. That's a company. But you don't own those people. So I never liked when players would say, well, yeah, I think we have a good coach, a good front office. We got a good owner. You know, my owner, such and such, he's been good to me. I don't like when we talk like that. I don't like that. Just refer to him as Mr. Fertitta. Yeah, Mr. Fertitta, blah, 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 blah. Don't call him your owner. If he owns you, what's your relation to God? What's God's place? Oh, that's God. Yeah, yeah. Can't get no higher than somebody owning you. Danny Kelly brought flashbacks at Jimmy the Greek. So they will make this brother seem like he crazy, man. And I expect it because they've been doing it anyway. But let me explain. Let me explain something. Not explain. I gotta explain it. Black people, don't buy into that, man. Because we got to stay on code in terms of not throwing our brothers and sisters under the bus when the media does it, and not being so quick to instantly jump on the bandwagon of whatever mainstream media says about one of our brothers or sisters. We can't do that. Look into it. Let me see what they're saying. Let me check it out. Let me study it for myself. And guess what? Even if it comes out, well, man, that brother, that sister really is crazy. Keep that to yourself. Don't perpetuate it because they may need some help. The doctors and the pharmaceutical companies are complicit in the building of mentally ill individuals of all races, because the meds that they are prescribing on a daily basis are altering our minds. Why would you create a medicine, a medication for one ailment, and then have to put a disclaimer in the commercial or something in the commercial that says may cause suicidal thoughts? Why would you have to do that? If this is a medication, if this is a healing pharmaceutical, if you have thoughts of suicide, contact your physician. Or they'll say, if you start having thoughts of suicide, please stop taking this drug immediately. You think? See? So they're complicit as well. Because you don't understand how doped up how much they dope up these athletes to get them on the field. This goes way back to the 60s and the 70s. Man, they'll give you a shot in a minute. Man, coach, I can't go. Hey, give him a shot. We need you out there. Inject you in the knee with something, inject you in the butt with something, inject you in the arm with something, and get right back out there. Tina P, they got it on the cigarette pack. But guess what, Tina? There was a time it wasn't on the cigarette box. They didn't have the warning on the cigarette box until people started catching cancer left and right. And when the cancer started spiking up, then they were like, oh, we got to start putting that on there. That way we give people the option to kill themselves. Y'all can't hold us liable because now we warned you. Cigarettes may cause cancer. We warned you. So if you do it now, it's on you. But there was a time that wasn't on the box. Rasta Gideon, herb is the healing. Clifford Hood, all those side effect warnings, not be able to sue them. Yeah, they take liability off themselves. And if you're $1 billion industry, that's what you're gonna do. Because they would have lawsuits. Do you know how many cancer lawsuits it would be? People would be suing left and right. Every time somebody get cancer, lung cancer, something, shh. My uncle smoked 5 packs of cools a day, so we know this what caused this cancer. I need 10 million. Athletes have to play in the NFL for, I think, 5 years before they're eligible for a pension. What you got to understand, and shout out to the coach who mentioned about the concussion that Antonio Brown suffered. What you got to understand is that, like most sports, but particularly football, where the average one of y'all with a smartphone handy who's quick with it, pull up what the average career span of an NFL player is. How many years does an NFL player last in the league on average? Now, we know we got some that play 10 years, 12 years, 15 years. Tom Brady been in the league, almost 20. Those are exceptions to the rule. But the league average, can somebody pull that up? Because I got a number in my head, but I don't want to say the wrong number, but it's pretty low. Because you got to recognize that there's 50, 53, 55 people. Look at that. Everybody hit on it. Now look how low that is. 3.3 years. Look how low that is. And 3 years is not even long enough to qualify for your pension. So now I want to make sure I'm on some actual facts the best I can. Now pull up, how long does an NFL player have to play to get his pension? To qualify for the pension, which means that after you retire, you will constantly receive some money to sustain yourself. Scotty said it, NFL stands for not for long, baby. Not for long. And it ain't even about injuries when it comes to not for long. It's about injuries, and it's about likability. It's about walking the line properly as not to piss off Massa. So Colin Kaepernick didn't get hurt. He didn't have no significant injuries. How long you got to play before you get your pension? How long you got to play before you get your pension, man? Somebody pull that up for your big brother. Pull up how long you got to play to get the pension. If you play 3 years, you don't get it. I know that for a fact. I feel like it's 4 years or 5. It's 4 or 5. I know in the NBA it's 5. You got to last 5 years to get that pension. The point that I'm making, even bringing this up, is that even an individual like Antonio Brown, who's made millions of dollars playing football, he left a lot of money on the table, but he's made millions of dollars playing football like a lot of other brothers. But if you have no issues, if you play 10, 12 years in the league, make decent money, good money, and have no issues, no physical, you still retire at a very young age. You're still going to retire in your 30s. So if you retire in your 30s, you got a lot of life ahead of you. You young. You're still in your prime as a man, maybe not as a football player. So you better get as much money out of them as you can, because they don't care nothing about you once it's over with. And those pensions, from what I understand, everybody don't get the same amount. So people are talking about the incentives they didn't want Antonio Brown to get, but that kind of contradicts him saying he's not going to go in the game if he was up to get this extra $1 million, as compared to if he was up to get the incentives are real. He was up to get it, but whether or not he said he didn't want to go in or whether they denied him to go in, I don't know. I just know that they would do that. And it doesn't matter if you are an athlete with a reputation. And I'm going to tell y'all this. Peep the game. My favorite athlete of all time, I got two, but one got the edge over the other one. My favorite athlete of all time is Akeem Olajuwon. He played for the Houston Rockets, right? Y'all just follow me. Follow your big brother. Give me 4 more likes, man. Let me get up to 100 likes while I'm on the chat. Y'all haven't hit the like button. Shout out to Tina P, the OG. Blessings and love. She is a gem, without a doubt. Rasta, you don't know the half. One of the realest in the game. That's the left. That's right here. So wherever you at, Tina, I want you to do this. When I go, you got to go. A love tap. But Akeem Olajuwon is my favorite player of all time. This man played for the Houston Rockets for 17 out of his 18 years in the league, right? In 1991, 92, somewhere up in there, Akeem Olajuwon had an injury. The management and ownership started to question whether Akeem's injury was legit. So they started wondering what's taking him so long to come back, and Akeem was saying he's still hurt. Now he wanted a renegotiation of his contract. He made it clear that he wanted to renegotiate his deal. The Rockets made it clear that they didn't want to renegotiate his deal for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't remember if they wanted to wait until his original deal was over or what. But this is the franchise player, best player you've ever had, even to this day. And you're treating him like a scrub. So they furthered that disrespect by accusing him publicly of faking an injury. Said he faking his injury. So Akeem went off. Akeem has played the game with integrity, played the game with love, played the game to its fullest, never cheated the game, never quit, never slacked, never tanked, gave 100% every time he was on the court. And to accuse him of faking an injury, Akeem, well, I'm done, I'm out. Trade me, because you're not going to disrespect my integrity like that. Now, this is a man who does not have a history of questionable activity and things like that. Akeem, he had some fights in the game, but that's part of the game. You can't count that. But they still questioned, they still insulted his integrity and disrespected his integrity as a professional and as a person. So don't tell me that it's beyond them to do that. We know they didn't want AB on the team. They didn't want Antonio Brown on the team. So this was a relief to them to get rid of him. It was a relief. But there's always somebody who just not going to let you do them any kind of way. Y'all remember when Sprewell choked the coach? Sprewell choked the coach back in the days. For young people, y'all go look it up. Mike Cherry, appreciate you, Mike Cherry. The honor is all mine, sir. And I'm going to tell you why the honor is all mine, because when I come on here and do these, man, it's always random. Maybe except Friday night. Friday, I've got to where I try to purposely do a live stream on Fridays, but any other time I do one, it's random. It's like I see something, oh, I'm gonna do a live on it. So it's an honor because you were giving me your time. You were taking time out of your life to come listen to me run my mouth. So I appreciate you and all of y'all without question. So the fact of the matter is that it doesn't matter what your so-called reputation is. It's all about the nature of the individual who's shelling out the money, who owns the team, and who feel as though they own you. Ross Spaghetti and what? See, look, you got to be a real Rockets fan to know or know basketball to know who Buck Johnson is. See, if somebody hit you with that Buck Johnson, boy, then they know some Rockets history right there. Because Buck done got lost in the sauce over the years. But I remember what James Worthy used to do to Buck Johnson. I used to be like, oh my God. But they would justify their treatment of you based on the slightest thing, slightest mistakes. And when they feel like they no longer need you to move forward, they'll cut you loose, just like your job will do. So this is a macrocosm in a way that is a reflection of life on a smaller scale in terms of the financial aspect, because they do the same thing to us on regular jobs. The same thing. They do the same exact thing, man. If somebody comes in that they feel can do your job better, and if they come in and they feel they can do your job better and they can pay them less, they'll replace you. And in some cases, we know this to be true. Y'all can raise your hand if you ever been through it. Sometimes a job that understands the law, they know that there are certain things in certain ways that they can't get rid of you. Otherwise, it will put them in a legal situation. They'll start creating circumstances on the job to try to make you quit. You know, a lot of people that's happened to. They'll start cutting your hours. They'll start making the job conditions tougher to manage, to work through. And they'll make it to where you say, man, I can't do it. They'll make you quit. And I don't know how it is in other states, but if you in Texas, if you quit, you don't even qualify. You can't even get unemployment if you quit. This is why I would love to see Black athletes, Black entertainers, Black everything start to establish their own. Establish our own. Somebody said that Tom Brady was AB's handler. And to phrase that like that, I'm sure that was what was asked of him on bringing him in. They probably say, hey, man, we'll bring this dude in, but Tom, you need to make sure you keep him in check. And Brady probably, I got it. But at some point, the line gonna break out the cage because you're not gonna keep disrespect. Look, y'all say what y'all want to say. I don't put nothing past these cats, man. And they gonna only see they gonna only present it in a way that makes that views them in a good light. See, Larry Newton said, "This is what happens when we give up on our own leagues in pursuit of theirs." Absolutely. We don't believe we can build our own league. We don't understand that we are the valuable asset. We are the product. Same in the music business. Same thing. Exact same thing. We don't believe that we are the valuable asset. So we have to run to them for a record deal. We have to run to them to put our clothing line out on a big scale. We got to run to them for everything that we want to do. All our ideas have to go through them, their platforms, all of it, because we don't believe that we can build. Look, all things originated in the mind of the black man and woman anyway, even the technologies of the world. That's why they lie on the origins of the pyramids. That's why they will say, I was watching this thing the other day where they was talking about how aliens had to be the ones who built the pyramids because these ancient civilizations were too primitive. They were not intelligent enough to be able to construct something that intricately detailed and magnificent. So it had to be aliens. You would rather believe that some aliens came down and constructed the pyramids than believe that some black folks did it. See, that's the mindset. Be gutty. It's like that in America, period, with everything. See? Y'all killing it now. Caesar has always handled his gladiators this way. Rasta Gideon, man, I'd love to go out there one day, man. See? You have to play with pain. You have to clock in to work when you sick. If you dying, hey, we need you at work. Want this money, don't you? Angie, the aliens did it. Look, they rather believe that some green men came down and they ain't finna give a black person credit for nothing. They would tell you we can't even get credit for us being black. Oh, we're the reason they're black. See? Yeah. What happened, Scotty Farrell? I'm not familiar with that story. They still trying to understand hieroglyphics. They're getting all the priests together now to talk about aliens. Yeah, JB. See? It's crafts out there, but ain't no aliens in them. That's another story. Something about that ham sandwich. Dollar bill. I gotta say your name now with like a grand introduction. I used to go dollar bill. I gotta be like dollar bill. I got to project it and hey, look, man, everybody's on the chat. Y'all be sure to tune in to K-Rino Radio in about an hour and a half. It's 12 a.m. It's going to be 12 midnight Central Time, but in an hour and a half, because it's 10:35 where I am, so about an hour and 25 minutes, I want everybody that's on here right now to go to kpft.org, kpft.org. See if I can type it in real quick. And listen to K-Rino Radio, man. I want all y'all to tune in tonight. kpft.org and listen to K-Rino Radio. I will be on the air tonight at midnight Central Time, 1 a.m. on the East Coast, 10 p.m. on the West Coast. Y'all tune in. But never let anybody present you out to the rest of the world as being crazy. We don't know all of the details with this Antonio Brown thing. But my plea is to us as black people to say, look, bro, don't take a story and run with it because you saw it on the news or saw it on TV. We've all been guilty of that. Oh man, what he done did now. Let's stop doing that. Let's stop doing that. Drop your locations, man. Where y'all at? Let me know where y'all at, man. Doc teaching facts on here. Jabrain, salute to you. Q Archangel, my brother. Yeah, man. Drop y'all locations, man. You know I gotta shout y'all out. Where we at? York, Pennsylvania in the building. Australia. 850 in Florida. Northern Michigan, Mike Cherry. LA. Columbus, Southeast Texas. Hawaiian Islands. Okay. Rasta, you be traveling the world, huh? Christos in New Hampshire. Chris Shipes in Morristown, Tennessee. JB in Southwest. Greenwood, Mississippi. The world's cotton capital, man. Princella. Let's get it on, Princella. I'm ready for you. The High Powered Podcast. If the High Powered Podcast is already up and running, y'all be sure to subscribe to my sister Princella's podcast, man. Y'all subscribe to her channel. Your big brother will be on there real soon. Real soon, whenever she say, let's get it on, we're going to get it on. We're going to be on it like we want it. Straight out of H-Town. Tunisia in the building. Portland, Oregon. Dallas. Is that Toronto? Mikey, you spent in Toronto? Or is that a place I never heard of? Conyers, Georgia. Toronto, Tunisia. Yeah, that's right, Toronto. Okay, where we at? Man, we all over the place. I'm skipping some. Conyers. H-Town. I see you, Anna Flick, Telequack and Humble. I see you right around the corner. Dollar bill on Andromeda. I stand 80 kilometers from Andromeda. If I wanted you bad enough, I could spot you and throw the sun at you. Y'all don't remember that one. Cincinnati in the building. Reno, Nevada. Traverse City, Michigan. Yeah, man, we all over the place. Bing, binging. We binging like always. South Park. Look. My brother is in the building. OG salute. Let's give OG salute to my brother Triple X, man. Pee Wee Broussard is in the building, man. Stop what we doing. Peace signs, power fists, salutes, 100s. Give them, throw them up right now, man. Peace signs, power fists, salutes, all that, y'all. Any emojis, king crowns, all that, man. SPCOG in the house, man. Anytime we got an OG up in this thing, we gonna celebrate their presence because he is one of the building blocks to the South Park Coalition, man. Killing it on them turntables back in the days, DJing for Gangsta Nip. That name y'all see, Pee Wee Broussard, man. That's the infamous Triple X. Back in the days, DJing for Gangsta Nip back on Rap A Lot Records, man. Y'all show my brother some love and respect because we wouldn't be doing what we doing if it wasn't for brothers like him. Yeah. But back on the journey, man, back to the mission. Never let nobody present you as being crazy. It's one of the worst things in the world for somebody to call you crazy when you know you're not. Just because they don't necessarily understand, they may not understand your passion. You may be presenting an ideology that differs from what's viewed to be the norm. You may be dealing with individuals who, you may be surrounded by individuals who have a fearful spirit, and anything you do that represents any type of courage comes off, like the saying goes, courage looks like insanity to a coward. So you may be in a circle of individuals who just don't get it. So when you had slaves who were rebellious, the scary slaves were like, nah, man, y'all better not, man, don't try that, man. If they catch you, it's the same way now. If we are under these umbrellas, whatever umbrella that we are under, whether it's a 9 to 5, whether you're making $10 million a year playing basketball, whether you sign to Sony or Universal, whatever field it is, whatever umbrella that you are, when you start to stick your chest out and speak out against the so-called powers, it's going to be somebody in your ear trying to talk you off the ledge and tell you why you shouldn't do that, even when what you're doing is right and justified. Those are the dangerous Negroes, not you. See, the black man who stands up or the black woman who stands up against the oppression, they are only dangerous to the oppressor. It's those ones who in the cut who will go and tell what you plan. We planning an escape. When they go and tell, that's the dangerous one. Those are the ones who have to be eliminated, excommunicated. That's why you shouldn't talk all the time. Shouldn't always express your plans to everybody. Sometimes not even the people that are in your close circle, because you don't know people until they're tried, they're tested. You don't know how much a piece of machinery can take until you have to push it to the limit. See? Leonard Green says the NFL is an auction. I talked about that earlier on when I talked about the combine. The combine is absolutely an auction. It's an audition where the same way they would do unspeakable things, man, groping and grabbing a man all on his nuts and all that, perverts back in those times to try to see, well, oh yes, he's very fertile. He's not fertile, but very, he can get the job done. That's what they do now. And only to the extent that they can get productivity out of you, when the productivity exhausts itself, that's the end of your tenure with that team, with that record label, with that job. It's not just about Antonio Brown. It's about you, me, and all of us. And understanding the value and the importance of bossing up and being an owner. And even if you have to bridge the gap between your bosshood and making a living right now, you gotta do what you gotta do. At some point, you want to bridge that gap while you working on that 9 to 5, man. Try your best to have your master plan being worked on at the same time. Your escape hatch. You got to have an escape plan, because we living in a world that's on the way out. We living in a system that's deteriorating. It's crumbling. So if we still trying to cling on to a structure that's not, the foundation is destroyed and it's crumbling, we trying to still hang on and cling on to that. When it collapses, it's going to collapse down on us. But we inside of the structure and we're not recognizing the damage and the collapsing that's taken up in place around us, because we're on the inside. And there are individuals on the inside who are steady telling us that everything is all right. But if you step out and look at it, then you say, man, this thing is falling apart. You can see it. Create some distance. See, perspective is everything. So sometimes when you're so close to something, this has a physical and a mental and an abstract meaning. When you write up on something, if I put my hand this close to my face, I really can't see my hand. I can't see the lines and the details of my hand because I'm too close. But if I pull away, pull a little further back from it, I have a different perspective. It's like, man, how'd I get that cut on my hand? Like, wow, I never noticed I had a mole right here. You see it differently. So when you step out of this system and create some distance, you can see all of the flaws and the cracks and the detailed BS. Get out of the darkness. Larry Newton, I appreciate the love, man. You got a great name. My daddy named Larry. See? Say, man, I appreciate the love. Y'all have a great night. I ain't mean to hold y'all this long, but I had to say what I had to say. Much love. Y'all tune in to K-Rino Radio, 12 o'clock tonight. And keep supporting, man. Blessings to y'all. Peace.